Did you know that 1.6 million women between the ages of 18 and 44 deal with hypothalamic amenorrhea at some point in their lives? And that's only in the USA. Globally, the number is more like 17.4 million. So needless to say, you're not alone if you're dealing with it too. And today, I'm going to talk about my client, Alyssa. She just got her period back after 4 months. She hadn't had a period in 2 full years. And just in 4 months working together, full recovery period, and many more to come without quitting exercise. So if you are interested in that in any capacity, watch to the end. I'm going to tell you the step-by-step plan that we followed and kind of the timeline of it all. So without further ado, let's freaking get into it. So first, let's get into Alyssa's past and kind of where she came from, because I feel like a lot of you watching this can resonate with her and her story. So she came to me again, like 2 years without a period. She had a 20K step count goal, working out intensely, restriction. She had a ceiling in terms of numbers, calories she was allowed to eat per day, and that ceiling was keeping her stuck in her old patterns. On top of that, she didn't have a very healthy relationship with food, going out to eat with friends. She just truly wanted to have food freedom and to go out to eat and not have to think twice about what she's going to order. So as much as it was about getting her period back, it was also about finding that freedom with food, her body, and that body acceptance. And on top of that, the biggest fear of all of my clients, and you listening as well, is the fear of weight gain. Weight gain is like Hades in the underworld. Like, there is absolutely no possible way that I'm ever going to gain weight. And if you guys are familiar with the all-in approach, typically a lot of my clients and myself as well, that was the paralyzing factor in terms of like going all in, to the point where it's like, okay, I am the most active, leanest, most restrictive in that kind of diet mentality I have ever been in my life, and you're asking me to go to the other side of the pendulum and just completely quit, throw in the towel, that's it. It's a very tall ask, and the threshold, the barrier to entry, is very high. Like, it's almost impossible to start because you don't know how to. And so my goal with Alyssa, because she did come from that kind of like, there is absolutely no way that I'm letting go of my step count. There's absolutely no way of like me toning that down, because it's a source of stress management. And obviously that is something that we worked on as well. But with all that being said, her biggest fear going into this was the fear that she would, at the end of it, look in the mirror and not recognize herself in the slightest bit. She was very scared of losing herself in the process. And of course, there's some identity shifting that needs to happen from like being the fittest girl and basing your worth and your self-image solely on the way you look, to having your pie chart of like where you place your self-worth into different things, like your character, your relationships, like romantic, family relationships, your career, hobbies, all these other aspects of life, putting more of your self-worth into those things rather than solely it being based on how you look and how the world perceives you. So with all of those fears going into it, she pressed that big green go button and we were off to the races. So step 1 of her journey was increasing her caloric intake. So we did do this through macro tracking. I know a lot of people want to do it intuitively, and I do have clients who go the intuitive route as well. It just kind of depends on the person. However, she wanted to be a little bit more meticulous and just have that number and that data point, which is totally fine. I think data and using macro tracking as a tool is a perfectly fine thing, as long as we come at it from an approach of abundance and using it as a tool rather than a crutch or like a way to restrict yourself. So what we did is slowly increase her calories via carbs especially, and fats. So these two things are typically the things that you're lacking. Usually I don't see lack of protein intake on a lot of my clients or women who are involved with the fitness space in general. Protein is very much shoved down your throat. So I have absolutely no doubt you're getting enough protein. However, carbs and fats are where it's at in terms of getting your cycle back, in terms of triggering ovulation, increasing your estrogen levels to a point where you can trigger ovulation. So that's exactly what we did. Week to week, each week, every week or 2 weeks, we would increase her carbs or fats by about 50-ish to 100 calories, just depending on how she was feeling in her body. Obviously, there were some weeks where she was feeling a little bit more bloated, in which case we just kind of stayed where we were at and just allowed her body to adapt to that before we pressed on, right? So the whole idea of that is to make sure that you are feeling okay with moving forward rather than just continuously punching at the wall. If you picture an imaginary wall, you can either get through it by two ways. One way would be punching it over and over and over again, and you would eventually crash through it. Or two, you can slow down, take a step back, and realize you can go around it. So that was the whole idea with going slowly. And with that too, her digestion improved, her relationship with food improved. We're including some fear foods as well. So she was able to go out to eat and be like, okay, this is one meal. One meal is not going to make or break me. It's actually going to help my progress and my goal being towards like period recovery. So having that goal and your why statement very close to you every time you make a decision, because it's going to be hard. Change is hard, whether you are trying to lose weight, whether you're trying to gain weight, gain your period back. I don't care what your goal is. You're essentially identity shifting, and that's going to be very uncomfortable, and you kind of have to expect it to be uncomfortable. However, you also have to trust the process of the compounding effect of all of these small choices. Like every time she chose to go out with her friends, even though she felt lethargic, she felt bloated, she felt ugly in her clothes, she chose to go out regardless of how she felt. And that is one, because she kept her why very close to her heart. It's like, in this moment, what decision is going to propel me towards where I want to go? And she wanted to have food freedom. She wanted to be social. She wanted to get her period back. So obviously the extra calories are useful. And the decision to go out was better than staying home and isolating. Okay, so you can have feelings and you can also have an action in the completely opposite direction. They don't have to correlate, right? I feel like we all like to, or we've all come from a place of acting out of emotion. And I actually wrote a post on social media about this today, but you can be a walking contradiction. Like you can think one way and act a different way just based on your goals, right? Because typically emotions are they're just chemicals bursting in your brain. Don't quote me on that. And they're triggered via past experiences, environments, smells, tastes, like things that are not rational and things that are not factual usually trigger the emotion. And so if you act on that emotion, you're just continuously going into that habit loop and you're making it stronger. So if she were to choose the isolation, she would have made that habit stronger and not moved towards her goal of having freedom. Hopefully that all made sense. Step 2, hypertrophy training. I know there's a lot of controversy about exercising in period recovery because like all in, it's like, don't exercise, stop exercise completely. And I think there's levels, or I think there's personal touches to it. So if you are someone who feels like stopping exercise completely is going to mentally be better for you, and you're like actually absolutely exhausted, then by all means, that might be the right choice for you. However, for some people, again, the ask of giving up exercise is keeping them stuck in quasi-recovery. So rather than staying there and not propelling forward, something that I like to do is like, how do you learn to incorporate exercise healthfully? And learning that before going all the way to the other side of the pendulum. Because like going through my own journey, I felt like stopping exercise and eating like an asshole completely went over to the other side, and I just missed the middle, where rather than going all the way over here and then coming down to the middle, why don't we find the middle ground first? So that's the whole idea between behind including some hypertrophy training. Is like, I love muscle mass. Muscle mass is super great for you, and whether you like it or not, you're gonna go through menopause, all of this other jazz, and you're gonna want as much muscle mass as humanly possible. Okay, for longevity, balance, mobility, strength, just being able to live life and not only have a long lifespan, but also a long health span. And of course, if you just take a periodic break, it's not gonna make or break you. You are more than welcome to take a break from exercise. There is absolutely no judgment in that. However, I'm just telling you Alyssa's story. So disclaimer over. She had a goal of obviously booty gains, growing her back. So that was what we did. We did a 4-day split. We did upper, lower, emphasis on back and glutes, obviously. Classic hypertrophy. We didn't overdo it on the volume. We didn't overdo it on the intensity. And we also didn't include a lot of cardio on top of the steps that she was having. So her step count was quite high, so it would be very counterintuitive to add in any other cardio. So we did not do that. We solely focused on the strength and muscle mass building, okay? So sticking to about 5-ish exercises per workout, completely fine. I find that a lot of women overdo it on volume. And what that's gonna do, it's going to really tank your nervous system. And during HA recovery, you really want to pay attention to your nervous system and not taxing it out, right? So we did lower the volume, we lowered the intensity, still having that progressive overload and progressing through the weeks. Because again, muscle gain happens under tension and having that stressor on your muscle. And I think my favorite thing throughout this whole process with my clients and incorporating exercise is the fact that they're not afraid of it. So many times, women come to me after being all in or after like completely stopping, and they are terrified of losing their period again, or they do lose their period again because they don't actually know, they haven't practiced how to incorporate exercise in a healthy amount, in a healthy intensity. How do we incorporate some deload weeks, some rest, recovery? Are you okay with taking rest days? You should be okay with taking rest days that are not packed with a bunch of different activities to make up for the workout that you missed, right? So how do you incorporate movement in a very healthy way without overdoing it? So what I see a lot of is people will stop, and it's a lot of the all or nothing kind of thinking where you're just gonna stop, and then once you get your period back, you're just gonna swing all the way back here, where we really want to find the middle ground. And that's what we did with Alyssa, and it was very beneficial because now she knows how to move her body in appropriate amounts without losing her cycle again. Step number 3, and arguably the most important part, addressing our relationship with food, fear foods in general, and also carbs. So again, there's a lot of stipulation around simple carbs where we really want to incorporate those, especially like post workout, and also eating breakfast. A lot of my clients do come to me and they're like, I want to push off breakfast, or quote unquote like save my calories for the end of the day, because they're scared of like, what if someone asks me to go for ice cream and I want to say yes? Like, what if something happens where I have to go out for dinner or eat something? And so they kind of bank their calories, and that's an issue because we do want to have a lot of that just balance throughout the day. And incorporating breakfast, especially if you are going to work out in the morning, at least having 15 grams of protein in the morning before you work out is going to be super beneficial. So we worked on not only her relationship with certain foods like carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, but also like meal timing and the rules she held around certain foods or certain meal times, or like banking calories and all of those kind of things, because we learn from the past and our past dieting. We're very good dieters, so we're really good at restricting or finding ways to take things out rather than put things in. And it seems and feels very counterintuitive to be like, oh, I'm not going to choose the fat-free option, I'm going to choose the full fat option or the whole milk. And it's very counterintuitive for what we believe right now. And it's supposed to feel hard. Again, like it's supposed to feel uncomfortable because you're learning something new, and something that is new is always going to feel hard at the start. And again, it's a skill that you learn along the way. Food freedom is only a skill that you have not learned. So within our nutrition protocols of working up our macros, working up our calories week to week, we also included 1 to 2 fear foods or 1 to 2 rule breaking protocols each week. And what that's gonna do is the more you practice it, the easier it becomes, the less anxious you become towards it, and the habit starts to break down. So right now, if you think of a habit that you have in terms of food freedom that you want to break, it probably feels really uncomfortable to choose otherwise, or choose the road less traveled by. And that's only because you've been choosing this road forever and ever. So once you start to choose that food freedom road and you start to slash down the bushes that are in front of it, you start to mow down the road and pat it down, and it becomes easier to travel. And so your brain doesn't freak out every time you choose that, and it becomes easier and easier over time. So practice makes permanent. So those were the 3 big steps that we did take through Alyssa's journey, and she absolutely crushed it. She did absolutely awesome, and all of those changes compounded within those 4 months. After 4 months, period had returned. Hallelujah. She's going to keep it for a lifelong time now because she understands her body. She knows how to take care of it, and I am the most happy person ever. I absolutely love getting those text messages. I got my period back. It lights my day up so much, just because I know how it feels. I know how stuck you may feel, and if you are in that position right now, coaching link is down below. I'm more than happy to hop on a free consult call to see if we're a good fit to work together. And if there's anything you want to see more of from my channel, please let me know in the comment section below. With that being said, I will catch you in the next one.